Hello, welcome to WordPress Tip of the Week. This is week number 23. In this video, we're going to continue our 5-part series on tools for professionals, and this is part 3. And we're going to talk about two really cool utilities today. We're going to talk about Pingdom and then the Google Responsiveness Tester. So let's take a look at Pingdom first. This can be found at tools.pingdom.com. Now what this does is this does a speed test for your site. And it'll give you a letter grade, and it'll tell you where your strong points are and what good suggestions to have it fixed. And what you can do is you can run a test from 4 different locations. You can test it from a server in Australia, a server in New York, a server in California, and a server in Sweden. So that really comes in handy because if you have an Asian or an Australian client, you can test it in Australia. For European, you would use the Stockholm one. And then for West Coast or Mid-America, you could do the California one. And then from maybe the Mississippi on over to the East Coast, you can do the New York City one. So let's go ahead and we'll do the New York City one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to test one of my little demo seed sites here, just for illustration purposes here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start the test. Now sometimes, depending on the time of day, you may be placed in a queue or it may run right away. So let's see how busy it is. Okay, so actually it's running right now. So what it's doing is it's generating a performance grade, and it's looking at the load time, and then it's comparing it to other sites, and then where it was tested from, how many site requests there was, and then the page size. So the overall grade is a B with a load time of 2.79 seconds, which is not super bad. But as you can see, we got an F for remove query strings from static resources. And if you expand it, what it does is it'll show you the specific files that they're talking about. For the rest of the items, we got an A on, but we got a 92 for leveraging browser cache. So if you click on that, that'll give you a little bit more information. And then the rest of these grades were 100%, which is perfect. And then it goes over response codes. Everything's okay. So we had 15 responses. And what it does is it breaks down the site according to its structure. Other and percentage of scripts on your file, on your site. The amount of CSS, 10.4%, and its size, and the amount of HTML, and that's the total amount of size. And then it talks about requests by content type. So as you can see, scripts were requested the most, and then CSS. Alright, so then it looks at content by size domain, and then it looks at the various requests by domain, and it gives the number of requests and its percentage. And then down here, what's really cool is it gives you a breakdown of everything that happened and in the order it happened. And as you can see, this is the total load time of the site, and most of the time was spent waiting. So there's something hanging up which is causing it to wait the longest. And then for each of the specific files, you can see the wait time, the connect time, everything else. So what you want it to be is you want it to be as small as possible. This way it's really fast. So, and then you can scroll down a little bit further, and it gives you just a better explanation about Pingdom and the different content types and then the different response codes. And best of all, the site's totally free to use, but what you can do is you can actually register where you can actually have it automated where it tests your site every minute. Now that may seem a little bit extreme, but if you're stuck and you're developing something and some reason the site's hanging and you're not sure where, this kind of comes in handy because you can test it over and over again. Alright, so that wraps up Pingdom. So let's talk about the Google Responsiveness Tester. Okay, so here we are, and it can be found at search.google.com/test/mobile friendly. So actually it's just very simple. You just type in a URL. In our case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in that demo site that I had, and you go ahead and click on Run Test. So what it'll do is, while it's running, it'll check to see how responsive it is. And also, depending on the size of the site, it could take not too long, or it could take a couple of minutes. And here we are. It says the page is mobile friendly and it's easy to use, which is great. So, and it actually shows you what it looks like on a smaller device. So what's really cool is you can click on this to submit your site to Google right from here in order to have your site crawled and ranked. So remember, one thing that Google is definitely looking for now is sites with HTTPS and sites that are mobile friendly, and they receive the most favorable ranking. So this is a absolutely awesome site to check to see if something is mobile friendly, and if it's not, what it'll do is it'll show you the areas where it isn't, and that definitely comes in handy. And what you can do is actually you can click on View Details, but actually there is no details because everything worked out great. But if something wasn't mobile friendly, this is where the information would be. Alright, so that's a look at Pingdom and also at the Google Mobile Friendly Test, or the Google Responsiveness Tester. People call it one or the other. Alright, so that wraps up this week's WordPress tip of the week. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I invite you to like the video and also subscribe to our channel, because all subscribers at the end of each month will be put in a drawing to be eligible for a free WordPress course. So be sure to subscribe and tell a friend about us. And until next week, take care. Bye.